Welcome back to episode 2 of the FantasyPuck podcast. I feel like I need some sort of unique intro, but it's kind of hard to come up with one. With me today is my co-host FP Schven for those in the Discord, or better known as Noah. Some of you guys are calling him Noah Hannafin. I got a question asking if Noah's John Tortorella. There was a couple instances that people were changing the alias of Noah. But we're here, two guys with some great early mustaches. It's not quite Movember just yet. But, we got the mustaches flowing in preparation for it. Noah, how are you, man?
Doing great, buddy. It's kind of weird seeing you over camera when we spent all weekend together. FP Chris made an appearance. FP Don made an appearance. We all got together in the capital of Ontario, but we'll get into recapping that later. It's great to be back chatting about fantasy hockey again.
Yeah, I felt like we tried to spend a weekend away from sports and fantasy sports, and that seemed to be the main topic of conversation all weekend. Between that and all the puck dokus throughout the weekend, we were couldn't get away from them. But yeah, it was nice to get some time away. It was nice to just do fantasy only from my phone and not from my computer. But I'm so happy to be back in the saddle. And I feel like so much has happened throughout the week. How did you do in your fantasy matchups last week?
Pretty good, FPPL, we're playing, so I'm okay licking my wounds, going 2-1 or 1-2 there. But all my personal leagues, I went 3-0, including our category league. I had to sweat out a little bit more, but it's always good to get a dub in a category league and start climbing back up the ladder. How'd you do?
Last week I had a really good week. I went 6-1, the highest point scoring team in the FPPL, and then bounced back this week, not in a good way. I ended up going 3-3. I lost in one of my keeper leagues, which was my opponent had Jonas Johansson for both shutouts. And then Jake Ottinger gave up a goal. So my goalie had a .33 goals against average. And I think a 987 save percentage, whatever 93 divided by 94 was his save percentage. So in that league, I punted goalies. I just have Cam Talbot and I have Levi on the IR plus. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stream this week. We'll just see how the matchup goes. And I knew I couldn't catch back up in goalies. So I was trying to get there in the offensive categories. I just couldn't do it. But I lost in our league too with our friend group. The league I have terrible keepers in other than Nathan McKinnon. I think I kept Rupe Hintz. Cider maybe? Yeah, not
right.
Very good. But
well, we'll get right into a little bit of an FPPL update. I was actually, we're going to try and establish some power rankings. And before I kind of outline the big heavy hitters through 3 weeks, do you think obviously we have a large emphasis on points for, but how much does that outweigh record? Because if I were to just establish the top 10 by points for right now, we would have 2 teams that are 1 win, 2 losses in the top 10 for points for across 7 leagues.
Wow.
84 teams, and 2 of the top 10 scorers are 1 win, 2 losses. 2 different divisions too.
So are they That's 2 insane. Of the top 10 or 2 of the top 5? Where are they in terms of ranking? In terms of points for, I guess.
They are, in terms of points for, they're ranked 7 and 8.
That's crazy to me. So for me, I'm not sure what your side of it is, and I'm curious to hear, but for me, I definitely value points for over record, because come playoff time, I don't know if you're going to be able to get away, especially if you're playing against the top 8 teams. I don't think you're going to get away with the team putting up 260 points in a league where you're averaging 330 a night or 330 a week. I definitely value points for, but that's crazy to hear. So they had 2 losses, although they must have had really close matchups.
I'm on the same page, and I'll say this, speaking from personal experience, both in points and in categories. Our main league the last 2 years, I've made the finals as the 6th seed and as the 7th seed going into playoffs. So it's, sometimes it is luck. Sometimes it is, winning at the right time. But I definitely value points for more. So I'll keep it the way it is. and we'll get cracking on, posting a power rankings graphic and all that fun stuff. We love seeing visuals behind things, but if we look at the top 10 right now, I'll say the record at the end, but we'll just go by points for as the number one tiebreaker.
Okay.
So up at the top, we've got Sonkers in the Metropolitan Division, 1,235 points. He's 2-1.
Wow.
And we've got Southeast, Hughes Your Daddy, 1182 points, 3-0. In your Atlantic Division, we got Jacques Hughes.
Yeah,
He has
good.
Jacques Hughes. It's spelled French. I love it. He's also 3-0, but he's got 1,167. Also 3-0, Metropolitan Choo Train, 1152. Northeast, we have the Oilers, 1143. He's also 3-0. Metropolitan, we've got Cold Blooded. He's got a 1,135.
Tell me I
have him
sneak
down
in
as
there.
3-0, but I think he was 2-1.
Okay.
You were in the top 15, but not quite the top 10. So then we have back-to-back 1-win, 2-loss teams. Northwest, we have Raising the Jolly Roger. He beat me this past week. He absolutely went off. So he might have been 0-3 if I had picked my socks up. But
wow.
1,128. Then in the Central, we've got the Wu Latang Clan, 1,122. Also 1-win, 2 losses.
It's a pretty good name.
And then rounding it out, we've got two. Yeah. Oh, I love it. And then we have two Northwest Division teams. We've got Headbangers at 3-0. He's got 1,115. And then also with the exact same amount of points, Northwest No Regretskis at 2-1. Also with the same amount of points, so honorable mention. Central Division No Regretskis, but he's 1-win, 2 losses. So that I gave the Northwest guy the tiebreaker with the extra win.
Two guys with the same name.
That's also hilarious.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, if your team's 3-0, maybe check your points for and say, oh, I need to get good. Maybe you're a fraudulent 3-0. Fantasy football all the time. We talk about.
Don't get me started.
Look at the San Francisco 49ers. They were 5-0. Now they're 5-3. I've got guys in my work league that are 5-2, but they have the 7th most points scored. Those kinds of things. So really good to see. So that's just a quick FPPL update in terms of my own league. I think my top team out of all of my leagues was in our personal one. I had 416 points.
Oh my god!
And
I think
300. Frank Vetrano hat trick. The Frank Vetrano hat trick helped me out big time. We had Caulfield almost hit 40 points. We had Evan Bouchard with 34. He had a goal in that outdoor game.
He's currently the leader in shots per 60 by defensemen. He's the shots leader. It's crazy how good he's been this year.
And then our boy Joseph Wool, 45 points.
Hey, we can get we'll get into that.
Dallas.
We can get into Joseph Wool. I'll just say one quick thing about Jacques. I'm coming for you if you're watching this. I see you in the rankings, and I see you and I are putting up a bunch of points every week. I'm coming for you. I don't know when I play him. I feel like it's like week 7. So hopefully we can record a podcast for that week and see how the outcome is. But yeah, he's been good. I think anyone with Jacques Hughes right now is currently winning leagues. Yep. I think I have him in 2 of 7. I'm not 100% on that though. I think it's 2 of 7.
Yep. And that is the perfect segue to start talking about some key players from week 2.
Sure. So
go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So Jacques Hughes obviously is number 1 guy from last week. 3 games played, just a single goal on 8 shots, which is completely fine, but 7 points. He's making a case right now to be a top 5 pick next season. This was the reason why going into drafts this year, that if you didn't have a top 4 pick, if you didn't get one of the big 4, you likely wanted to pick at like 10 to 12, where you can, and we talked about this, I think you and I, or maybe with Chris, is that you could have went Makar Hughes with your first 2 picks, or Hughes Kaprizov, Hughes J-Rob, who hasn't been good, but still the long-term outlook's very, very strong with him. It was the play. If you had the late pick, that was the favorable pick. And now you're seeing Jacques Hughes. I think he's ranked 1 in most leagues right now, if Larkin kind of fell down, but man, he's been good. I know that the assist on one of Timo Meyer's goals, I think at some point last week, it might have been his 16th point of the season. That was the first non-primary point that he had of the year. So his first 15 were all primary points, which is he's just a freak right now. Even watching him, it's crazy to see.
Absolutely. And then in terms of some other guys we outlined for our week 2 recap, you could have read this if you're a Patreon member, you could have read this. I sent it out late last night. So first thing this morning with your morning coffee, your cereal, your orange juice, you could have read our newsletter heading into week 3. But we had Ryan Hartman, who, he burst onto the scene 2 years ago with 34 goals, 65 points. Last year, he missed some time, wasn't quite the same player. Minnesota took a little bit of a step back. We only had 15 goals last year, but off to that hot start. He's got 6 goals in 9 games. And this past week, he had 4 goals, 2 assists, 12 shots on goal in just 3 games played. So, have you managed to watch Minnesota yet this year?
No, not once actually. But I am. Oh no, I did watch him. I watched him against the Leafs. The 7-4 loss. Gustafsson did
Yep.
not look good. Didn't even notice Hartman in that game. Honestly, biggest standout for me was Brock Faber. He was great, but with Hartman, I got asked a question in the Discord about Hartman or Sam Bennett long term. I still think I'm on the Bennett train. I'm very curious. Do you have Hartman's stats up right now? What's his shooting percentage?
Oh, he's ballooned right now. He's 6 goals, 25 shots on goal. So he's shooting 24% right now.
It's not too
And
bad.
the number one thing when we're evaluating 2 different players like that is, we don't have any sample size from Sammy B just yet. So I would if you have him, if you've held him for this point, we need to see what he brings to the table first before you even evaluate that, in my opinion.
Yeah, Bennett's in the lineup tonight, and I saw he already has a shot on goal in the first period, so he's on pace for
Yep.
whatever three periods times the next 70 games. Actually, that's not even that high of shot on goal, so
Oh, it's like 240.
210
Math
maybe.
guy.
Yeah, math guy. And then another hot player this week, and we're definitely gonna have to talk about this. It's another segue is Jeff Skinner with 4 games played, 6 points, 3 goals, 18 shots. So this weekend, Noah, actually the entire Fantasy Puck team, we were in Buffalo for the Sabres Avalanche game. We saw that Makar hit right in front of our eyes. We were sitting about
Yep.
9 rows up from behind Georgiev. And biggest standouts, like we can get into that, but Jeff Skinner, he was okay, but man, that Makar hit was scary. Every single person was standing up trying to see whether Makar was getting up or not, and it felt like it was 3 minutes before we saw him even get up. Big scrum in front of the net. That was scary.
Yeah, definitely. You witnessed something when it's immediately on Twitter right away saying, "Oh, hope Kale McCarr's okay," and all this other stuff. You see how passionate Nate McKinnon is getting that 2 and a 10 for yapping at the ref. But with regards to Skinner, I think right after the game we said, "Wow, like he didn't pass the eye test, but he did have 2 assists in that game." And he
Four
was in the right
shots.
place at the right time in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie Chaplin all over the ice. I think like it was weird. Like so obviously Nate, like McKinnon was by far, I think he was the biggest standout. Doesn't really surprise. Like I just felt like the puck when it's on his stick, it's a breakout and you're in the offensive zone so quickly. But you mentioned this and I can let you talk about it more, but Tuck looked very good. He is massive, man. I did not know he was that big. He's like 6'4". Must be 6'4".
Yeah, I think you're right there. He's 6'4", and he's very well a guy based on his performance last year. We'll see what happens this year. They seem to be juggling their lines a little bit and spreading the ice time out, but he might be a top 5, top 10 best contracts in the league. He's
Oh
only
yeah.
making 4.75. Vegas locked him up long term there, and then he was the key roster player coming back in that Eichel trade,
Mm-hmm.
and man, he's got a magnet in his stick for the puck. Like it always ends up. I think he had that one really good hand-eye play. We both kind of looked at each other and went, "Oh, like did that just happen?"
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. So
I think
really like Tuck. Really like Darlene for sure. He did some things with the
he's
puck and
so
without the puck that
silky.
three
Like
the three of us just looked at each other and we're like, "Oh my goodness, what's
he is
going on there?"
silky, man. That guy's skating is something else. I guess that's why he went first overall. And then Tage Thompson was like not and I understand we're just going off of like one game, but he did not impress at all. I was really surprised. He just like I'm just thinking about there were so many power plays in that game, and like I don't even recall him being a factor. The power plays were all terrible, but he did not stand out to me at all. Other than just being like I couldn't believe how tall he was, like 6'6". He was towering over every guy on the ice, especially Bowen Byram, and Yuki Haru was pretty short though. But overall, good game. We saw a 4-0 win for Buffalo. We saw McKinnon get a 10 and Makar get hurt. So just our luck in that game. And for those, if you live in Buffalo or if you've been to Buffalo, let us know below if you've ever been to the Anchor Bar, and have gotten wings there. We were told it's the original Buffalo wing place, and we went, and it was exceptional. My wings are currently in your fridge too. Should I?
I'm thankful for the leftovers.
Should I tell the story about what happened in Toronto when I flew in?
Yeah, if you want to, and you know what, we're gonna pick the top comment from this, and I will send them Mike's leftover chicken wings via courier.
Okay. So like this is supposed to be a hockey podcast, I get it. But I guess we can get into some personal stuff. So I flew in to Toronto to meet Noah around like 9 a.m. on Saturday. And Chris is gonna laugh if he listens to this because he's heard me talk about it so often. So I flew in, got my bag, got into an Uber, and we're driving to Noah's place. And we're just on, like, there's one main street that Noah lives on. And we're just driving downtown Toronto. And sorry for giving your address away. And
I don't care.
we were going through a green light, and a car just pulled out right and absolutely smoked the side of my Uber. So, and it was in the passenger door that I was sitting at. I was completely fine, like no problems, but been in two like accidents in my life, both in Toronto, and my Uber driver was freaking out. I had no idea what was happening, and then just got out of the Uber. He's like, Michael, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I'm good. And then I'm like, do you need anything from me? Like, I don't know what to do here. Like, I'm a witness. I don't know like what's going on. And the lady had her insurance out, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to my friend's house. And then just proceeded to walk like 2 kilometers to meet you. I actually just got a call from Uber on my drive home.
Perfect.
From the insurance claim, so 3 days after, saying, do you have any injuries? And I was told to say that I had some sort of neck problem, but I escaped injury free. It was a scary situation though. That was still eye opening, but glad I'm okay. But
Yep, same here. And all in all, it was a good weekend for us.
yeah, that set the tone. Got my adrenaline going to start the weekend.
Yep. And then rounding out our top performers from week 2, we have Adam Fox, who, you and I have never really been super on him, but we
No.
know that the floor is there. And this was a perfect example of him having a good, like, this is what you get out of him. So he had 5 points, 4 of which were on the power play, 6 shots on goal, and he mixed in a hit and a block. So points leagues, he's a top 5D no matter what. Those peripherals is kind of where he's lacking from time to time.
That's why I don't
he
like
keeps a
him.
decent amount, but yeah, like he had a decent week for himself. The Rangers, I've watched them a little bit. That division's so competitive that I think they'll be fine, and I think they know what they're getting out of him. But yeah, like Adam Fox, honorable mention for sure. And then you mentioned Johansson already. 2 games played, 2 shutouts, and of course you had to be playing him.
Yeah, I'm playing him, and then it was impossible for us to predict the Vasilevsky injury, and I always think like I wish we were on him earlier, but it was pretty much Vaz went down and this was the guy, and there was really no other way around it. So it was hard to recommend him to everybody. But yeah, he's been great this season. I was just looking in the Discord. This is currently 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm recording this on the 30th, so there's games going on right now. And Seattle did score 3 on him in the first period, so definitely going to be some eyes there.
Yep.
But yeah, with Johansson, he's just been like weirdly good. For some reason, he's like not a good goalie. It's a matter of time before he begins to fall off. in my opinion. But I don't own him in
Yeah.
any leagues, unfortunately. But yeah, just like not a good goalie. I don't know how he's doing it right now.
No,
To put the team in front
I
of you, I
will
guess.
say, yeah, I will say shout out to Louis Domingue. 2018-19, the last time Vasilevsky missed significant time. 26 games started for Domingue that year. How many wins do you think?
2018-19, you said?
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 16.
21.
No
What,
way.
21-5.
Oh my.
And that was just another like random flash. Hey, Vasilevsky's out. And I think I had thought about picking him up, but I went, yeah, you know what? And I don't trust Louis Domingue. And then 21-5 down the stretch.
That's
They missed the
crazy.
playoffs that year, if I remember correctly. That was or no, that was the
They
year.
lost to
That
Columbus.
was the year they got swept. Yeah, I think it was the year before, if not 2 years before, they missed the playoffs.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that was the year they got smoked by Columbus.
Yeah, then the Panarin Kucherov handshake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Cool. So yeah, those are some of the top performers. Let us know below if you're still listening. If you're in your car, you want to go on YouTube or in the Discord. Let us know some of the top performers from your teams last week. These are definitely some standouts, but there are definitely other players that you may have streamed. Frank for Toronto definitely makes the list here too. So in my league where the guys' goalies went banana lands and I decided to completely punt on goalies that week, I did pick up for Toronto. And I was hoping his 3 goals would be enough to bring me to the top or just take control of the offensive categories. It just didn't. He had such a good week. I was texting him today saying he said he has a couple new systems his team's put in place. They hired a new offensive coordinator, so his team's been playing a little bit better.
Nice.
So yeah, we can segue quickly into just some players in the early going that have been league winners that. It's only been 3 weeks. It's only been, I don't even know if a team has played 10 games yet, but there have definitely been some standout players that have been drafted that are currently winning you leagues right now. And we won't include Jack Hughes because we've already talked about him.
Yep.
Who do you got?
So first up, we were on him early. We weren't really sure about plus minus leagues, but we definitely knew definitely knew the usage was going to be there. Michael Matheson, ADP 170. We have here he was 16% drafted, and right now he's ranked 38 in standard leagues. So 6 points, 5 on the power play, 22 shots on goal, 6 hits, 21 blocks, and he's playing an average of 25 plus minutes. So one of the things we were going to get into later is Montreal's hot start and what to expect out of that. But we knew Matheson was going to be great. Who do you have next, Mike?
So just to quickly touch on Matheson, this is like the big standout for me. There's a couple things. So first, I distinctly remember that his Yahoo projections, and if I could remember correctly, it was along the lines of 10 goals, 28 assists, and then they had like 140 shots. And I was just like baffled. Like if you go sorted by expected rank or rank, and they used his projections, he was like 400, and I was grabbing him at the end of every draft. Like he may be in 4 or 5 of my videos. So I'm hoping that a lot of the viewers were able to scoop up Matheson. It was like he was pretty much going at the end of drafts, and he was line 1 or pair 1, power play 1. So he was like one of the best D available that late, and we know D are scarce every year. So I'm glad to see him. He's panned out so far. I know he's day to day, but I was told he skated this morning. I'm not sure if they're playing tonight, but he was, or he's a game time decision. So we'll see what happens with him. But that's the concern, right? Is his injury. But another defenseman that's been very good this season, someone that like I feel like was like stagnant for the last 2 seasons, where his minutes have barely moved up. If you go look, his point, I think he scored 13 goals back-to-back years. Noah Dobson of the New York Islanders, the most boring team in hockey, so it's really hard to draft anyone other than Sorokin from there. But Dobson's been so good this year. He's up to 25 plus minutes a night. Last year, I was really hoping for him to take that step to 25 minutes, and I think he was just under 21. But he's finally playing big minutes. Like the Islanders, maybe they just have a lot of special teams in the early going. I hope we have some Islanders fans that can. I haven't watched. I don't want to voluntarily watch an Islanders game, unfortunately. But 7 points, 18 shots, 24 blocks. All of his peripherals are up this season. He's still producing offensively like we've seen in the past. He had over 200 shots, over 100 blocks last season, and around 50 points. But so far, he was going ADP 112. He's about the same as Matheson in that 38 to 50 range. It really depends on your league. But yeah, he's been a standout player. I'm sad I missed out. I only drafted him in 2 of 7 leagues, and he's usually a guy I'd like to get to just because I know the upside is there. He was a first rounder. But yeah, the minutes magically went up to 25 this year, and no one could have predicted it.
Yep. And he's a guy that, sticking to our script with so many D flying off the board early, I was okay with reaching on him to be my second D on my team.
Agreed.
Because I knew the floor was there. I knew the 50 points was there, and the peripherals have been amazing with that uptick in ice time for him.
Yeah, he's been.
But I agree with you. I don't know if I'll be watching many Islanders games this year.
Sorry if you're an Islanders fan, but I had in my players that I've drafted the most video. I talked about Charlie McAvoy as a guy that I just kept getting to because he was like there was 10 defensemen that were going super early, and then it felt like it was McAvoy that was that 12th defenseman that was in the same spot as the other 10, just kind of being forgotten about. And Dobson easily falls in that category of a guy that is in the same realm as, McAvoy, not quite Heiskanen, but he's still in that D1, D2 range. But with these minutes, man, it looks like he could be finishing as a defenseman 1, and we'll see how long the season goes for his uptick in ice time and production. But yeah, he's been great.
Yep, couldn't agree more. Next, we've got another guy right around the same ADP, but a left winger that very, very controversial. And, there were a few people saying, hey, I don't know if he's worth holding on to early on, but whoever did, I'm glad you did. Evander Kane. So he's got 2 goals, 6 points, 23 shots, and 34 hits. 34 hits is just absolutely broken.
Banana
If we extrapolate that to his pace for the season, that's 348 hits, 235 shots, and 60 points. So an absolute bangers legend so far. He's got 18 shots and 24 hits in his last 5 games to go with 5 points. You and I, we got back from Buffalo a little bit late, but still had some time to chuck on the outdoor classic there in Edmonton, and he was one of the standouts for sure. He definitely got into it with a couple of questionable hits. He's that guy that plays on the edge, but he buried that empty netter to solidify his mark on that game for sure.
Yeah, he's been great. I do have him in, I think, 2 of 7. I was just talking with one of my friends in our league who took him 92nd overall, and we were just texting before the podcast, and I was like, man, I'm still mad you drafted Evander Kane over me. But yeah, he's been great. His minutes are up. There was a little bit of concern the game he got sat by Woodcroft, but sometimes that needs to happen for you to start picking it up and be that effective player like we've seen. With McDavid back, his outlook gets even better. I don't think he'll be on power play 1, but still, I think I'd rather play with McDavid and not be power play 1 than be power play 1 and not play with McDavid.
Yeah. So you're telling me Warren Fogle isn't the answer on the McDavid Draisaitl line?
Yeah,
that's the FP Mike guarantee.
Going against Dryden Hunt, Elias Lindholm, and Jonathan Huberdeau last night, which is, I don't even want to talk about. Well, actually, we will get into the Flames. That is actually our next segment. But we'll get into our last player here that's been so good this year, and I extrapolated a bunch of stats for him. Philip Forsberg at ADP 150. He was one of our biggest sleepers here, and we're not just trying to pick our favorite FP guys, but man, Forsberg has been a beast. 36 shots in 8 games, 70 shot attempts. 70 shot attempts in 8 games. So he has 1 goal right now on 36 shots. His shooting percentage is way down. He's gonna figure it out at some point. He's a 12.7% shooter. His minutes this season, another one where you just can't predict that his minutes are going to go up. He was at 17 last year. He's up to over 19 this year. He's on pace right now for 370 shots. If you extrapolate that out using his shooting percentage of 12.7%, we have 46 goals for Philip Forsberg. This guy was drafted ADP 150. Most leagues, I would say, like in competitive leagues, he was around 90 to 110.
Yeah, I'd say.
Unfortunately, you picked before me in the league that we're in together, and I knew you were going to grab him. Did you grabbed him, right? No, I grabbed him because I knew you were going to take him the next round. So
I think your hometown league, that's what happened, and then I got him in our main league, if I
okay,
remember correctly.
yeah, he's been
I own a
great.
lot of Sportsburg this year. I was fine with taking him as early as round 7,
Me
so right
too.
around ADP 80 or so. I
Yep.
was totally okay with that, with the upside. 2 years removed from an 84-point season. Last year he only played 50 games. He still had 42 points,
Yeah.
so we knew what we were getting.
It's I actually did watch the Nashville Edmonton game. I think that might have been the game Evander Kane got sad. I'm not 100%, but I watched the game, and pretty much what happens is they just give him the puck and he doesn't even look. He just shoots it on net. He might have had 7 shot attempts in 1 2 minute power play I watched. They were just feeding him the puck, but he's been great. He's a buy low candidate right now if you can. It's hard to say because he only has 1 goal. But if you do the math of his shots multiplied by the shooting percentage, he should be at about 5 right now, which I would say would probably rank him in a top 20 position, given his very high shot volume and hit volume so far this season. But yeah, unreal. He's been great. We need some music to segue out here.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're dialed in. All right, so we're
Oh,
gonna
I was waiting for the music.
yeah. So we asked the Discord. We have a premium Discord channel that so like our Discord's super active. For those listening, if you're not in the Discord, definitely something you want to be doing. We have over 1,000 members in there right now, and we do our best. We have ourselves and a couple moderators that try and answer everybody's questions. The big one, starts and sits. Trades is another massive one. And then we also have a channel where you can just talk hockey. And that's what everyone's doing right now. When Svetch scores, I saw about 8, or sorry, when he had an assist, I saw about 8 messages freaking out. So it's an app, and the link will be in the description below. Check out our link tree. Everything will be there. We also introduced a weekly newsletter that we're going to be releasing every Sunday for you to read while you're having your coffee and orange juice, like Noah mentioned. That will all be available as part of our premium package on our Patreon. And then if you want to just support us or support the channel, that's another thing you can do as well, because it takes some time to do this, but it's not the money that motivates us. It's watching everyone and seeing everyone win. That's the biggest motivator for all of us. But what we did is we have a premium Discord channel. There's a lot of messages that happen throughout the in the free Discord channels. So we did create a premium one for some of the members that just want their questions answered by us directly right away. So we were able to ask a couple questions in there and say, just give us some topics. So the first topic we have here is what to do with the Flames and the Oilers players. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Sure, I'll start. I'll start with Calgary. Like, you know, we had them penciled in as our bounce back team, and we're seeing some glimpses of it, but at the same time, like, it was so depressing seeing what they put out there last night against Edmonton. Congratulations to Dryden Hunt for a career high. I think he ended up with 18 or 19 minutes. We're not hating on anybody, but in terms of fantasy relevance, like, I want Kadri to succeed. I want Huberto to
So
succeed. I want
bad.
Mangiapane to succeed so bad, but it's just not quite there. In terms of, I think the most hot button player has been Markstrom, because we were high on him, because he had that round 9, round 10 value of being a really good second goalie, or if you punt like us, a really good first goalie.
Yep.
You know, the volume is still there. He's pretty much starting every game still. Vladar, I'm not really sure what the outlook is when they have Dustin Wolf in the system. He's I don't know if he can win another individual award in the AHL. They might kick him out for life if he does. But in the current scheme of things, Markstrom is definitely still a hold due to that volume. We get a lot of questions and a lot of input where wins don't necessarily matter depending on your scoring for goaltending. So in terms of Calgary, I'd say Markstrom's definitely a hold. The rest of the guys, like, I don't know, I just traded Huberto. I threw him in, and I talked to that guy that I traded to him at work today, and he said, you know what, like with everything in mind, Huberto would have been the best player on the waiver wire at the time. So thanks for just throwing him into the trade, because I was
Fair.
like couldn't find any but think better to pick up, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think for me right now, and again, if it's about the Flames and the Oilers, is so first I want to say that like I'm probably holding the main guys in. So we'll talk about the Flames because they're probably the biggest mess. I'm pretty much holding anybody that plays in the top 6 and is currently playing power play 1, and that's like Kadri, Rasmus Anderson, Huberto. I'm Elias Lindholm, so like I'm likely holding them. I do have Huberto in a couple leagues. I'm still holding. It sucks. I'm holding. I know a lot of people in Discord are dropping him, but if he just continues to play a top 6 role with 18 plus minutes and power play 1, I just don't think I can drop him for someone that is going to be playing line 2, power play 2. That's just hot at the time. In terms of
No, I
goaltending,
agree.
in terms of goaltending, Stuart Skinner is probably my priority on Edmonton. I'm probably not adding Campbell unless I'm in a deep league. And with Skinner, the only time I'm starting him is in good matchups. Probably a home matchup, and it's going to be against a bottom 10 team. I don't think I would start him in like an unfavorable matchup, just because Edmonton gives up a lot of chances and a lot of goals. But the wins are there. And then with Markstrom, someone I was extremely, extremely high on. And the reason being is just because you're going to get 65 starts out of him, and I'm doing the hand motions because I'm getting intense with Markstrom. I know you're going to get a lot of starts with him. And Calgary last season was actually a very strong team analytically, and they are again this season. Again, top 10 in Corsi for percentage, shots for percentage, expected goals for percentage. It's just Markstrom, they just don't give him any help right now. And he's had a number of games where he's letting up 2-3 goals on 25 to 35 shots, and they don't have any help. They had a home game and they lost 3-0 to Joel Hofer on St. Louis.
Yep.
I'm holding him. I'm maybe just because I like him so much, but I'm going to take a guy that'll get me 65 starts throughout the year. It doesn't seem like Vladar's getting much volume. Dustin Wolf, I think they're going to give him one more year. He might be up pending an injury. And if Markstrom gets hurt, he's probably a must-add. But I'm holding Markstrom for the time being.
Agreed. And then moving a little bit further east, but sticking in Canada, one of the hot button players right now, and he's another guy we want him to succeed so bad. I think he might be Don's favorite player in the NHL.
Yeah.
Nikolai Ehlers.
So with Ehlers, he's such a wild card every year. He's pretty much been a 5-year sleeper, Ehlers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about health and opportunity for him. We don't usually see both, but we are right now. He's healthy. He's line 2. He's power play 1. So right now, I looked before the podcast at what he's done 5-on-5. So he has the 10th best shot rate at 5-on-5. He's also first for shot attempts 4. So he's doing Nikolai Ehlers things where he's firing the puck like crazy, but he just hasn't really been that relevant. Now, what we've seen recently is a very high variance in his minutes. 16, 16, 14, 13, and then last game he played over 20 minutes. I tried to look. He played 5 minutes of power play. It could be that. He usually plays around 11 minutes of 5-on-5. But as long as he's getting top 6 power play 1 opportunities and he's shooting the puck like he is right now, I'm holding him in all of my leagues. The biggest thing, and I'm sorry for taking all the noise pollution here, all the floor time. The biggest thing is that, like, if he's your last roster spot, he's a guy that's like close to a point per game and over 10 shots per 60. It's really hard to find a replacement like on your waivers. So you may be frustrated with this lack of production right now. And sure, you can go add someone that's just hot for a week or someone to just give you a stream spot for a week or two. But long term, Nikolai Ehlers could easily be somebody that is like a top producer for you. And you look back and say, why did I drop him to stream Barrett Hayton for 3 games? Or why did I drop him to stream a guy on the Philadelphia Flyers for 3 games? So you got to keep in mind that with guys with this much upside and that are playing line 2, power play 1, you probably want to be holding them for as long as you can in those 12-team leagues. In 10, I get it because it's a lot shallower of a league. But if they're your last roster spot, probably we would still hold them. The best time to stream in fantasy is when you have a guy on your IR plus, in my opinion.
Yep.
I'm pretty much only streaming in leagues that have IR plus. Streaming becomes the most relevant in playoffs. That's when you should be actively streaming players, but I don't know. I'm curious to see what you think.
I have the same outlook when it comes to streaming, when it comes to everything else. Like, we can never predict injuries, but I'm someone who stashes sometimes. I think a couple of years ago I started the year with Kucherov out, Eichel neck surgery, and then I think Malkin had season opening surgery, and I went, you know what? I have the spots to stash. Let's see what we can do. And I know coming back into whatever the timeline is, I have that player coming back, and I know what that player is capable of. So if I have a healthy Nikolai Ehlers or a healthy, some of the other fringe guys we're going to talk about that we should still believe in, that's going to be our next topic coming up here. With that in mind, like, you want to keep your dogs. You want to see, like, you drafted this guy, or you spent the waiver claim on this top 6 power play 1 player. You want to see what they're going to be capable of. You want to ride it out as long as you can.
Yeah, that's what I do. I know in stonks in the Wall Street bets they call it diamond hands by holding the risky stocks. That's how I feel with Nikolai Ehlers and some of these Calgary Flames players. I just don't want to. I feel like if I drafted him in like round 14 out of 18 and I drop him and he ends up going off, I'm just going to kick myself more than if I held him for an extra 10 games and he doesn't go off. And maybe I lose out on 30, not even 30 points. Like if I lose out on like 18 points from a streamer that week, that's my fault if I'm losing the week because my streamer didn't get me, because I didn't get 18 points. So that's the way I'm doing it with Ehlers and some of these riskier guys. But no more Nikolai Ehlers talk. It was about a 5-minute Ehlers bit. Let's move on to the Montreal Canadiens, and they're in 6th place with 5 wins and 11 points. That was like one of the we actually got asked that by I think 3 Discord members about Montreal's hot start right now.
Yep.
It's
yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
It's just, I like Matheson and I like Caulfield, but looking at their actual season stats, they're currently ranked 29th in the league for Corsi for percentage, 19th in the league for goals for percentage, 31st in the league for expected goals for percentage. We are about to see this team completely fall off a cliff. And I am worried that Michael Matheson, Caulfield, and the others may be on the top of the ledge with them. But the outlook's still great, and I'm very happy with what we've seen from them. But analytically, they're not doing very good. I don't think the 5-2-1 is sustainable. I love all the Montreal Canadiens fans we have, because we actually have a lot more than you'd think in the Discord. And they're actually all the most active and probably the nicest people in there. But I think we're going to see the fall of the Montreal Canadiens very soon, unfortunately.
No, I couldn't agree more. And the one thing I will say, I was really curious, so I figured I'd pop open their hockey reference page here just to kind of see how the ice time distribution's been. Kirby Dach, we expected big things out of him in terms of not necessarily a fantasy outlook, but he's a 3rd overall pick. They spent a lot to get him. We wanted to see him thrive this year in kind of a second line center role. Hate to see injuries, but since his departure, like, I'm looking and they're kind of just rolling everybody that 13 to 17 minutes. Like, Gallagher's down at the bottom at just under 13 minutes a game. He's normally a guy that, they rely on for a lot, but he's taken a bit of a back seat now with him getting a little bit older. But, they only have 2 forwards up over 20 minutes average time on ice. or sorry, just one. Caulfield's at 19 and change, but they're asking a lot out of a guy like Sean Monahan, who definitely isn't the same Calgary Flame first line center that he was, but he's been a bit of a surprise to start the year. I don't know how sustainable that is. And you look at their decor, who is so young, and Jordan Harris is playing a lot right now. Kovacevic's playing a lot right now, but behind Matheson and Savard, they've got
Not much.
a bunch of
Gooley.
second year players, right? And Caden Gooley was banged up. I think he's back. They've got the heavyweight champ, Arbor Jacki, but I agree with. I think they're headed for a downfall. I know Caulfield's going to be unbelievable this year. I think Matheson's going to hold value right up to the end of the season if healthy, but otherwise, enjoy it while it lasted. I think.
So I don't know. I haven't looked in the Discord, but Sam Bennett's currently at 7 minutes time on ice, and everyone else is well over 10. I'm very concerned to see if he has some sort of injury. I guess we'll find out soon. So the last question we got asked, a very good one, is who are some players that we recommended to draft that we still believe in? So we talked about Markstrom, and you heard my side of it. So some notable players and some players that I've seen messages like, I can't believe you told me to draft him. Mikhail Sergachev was one notable, and Andrei Svechnikov. So with Sergachev so far this season, he was a guy that around the Dobson range, like he was going 60 to 100. It really depended on the league and who you were drafting with. Even some leagues earlier than that. There was always the risk of Hedman being there. It was really interesting because Sergachev was PP1 the entire I would say the last 70% of the season. He had like 31 power play points. So far this year, he's been splitting time with Hedman. 5 points, 3 points in the power play in 8 games. His minutes are down about 40 seconds, which is completely minor early in the season. That's likely going to start going up. His hits are way down, but his blocks are way up. So expect that to flatline at some point. He's shooting at about the same rate that we saw last season. For me, I still believe in him. I mean, he hasn't been producing. He hasn't really been underperforming as much as people are saying he is. It's just a lack of hits. And some people may not play in leagues with blocks, and that may be actually hurting his outlook a little bit more. But in terms of what I see long term, I feel like you can probably reduce his point production by about 10. So he had 64 last year. You could probably see about 54 or in that 40 to 60 range. It definitely varies depending on power play time. But my outlook's pretty much the same as it was in preseason with him.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with him. I might need to crumple up my Norris ticket at 75 to 1, but he's still going to be a very good option, and it's people will always bring up your misses and not necessarily your hits all the time. I know we have a great community, but it's always funny to see that gut reaction, and we're not even a month into the season. So
Yeah.
I agree with that. In terms of Svechnikov, like I said earlier, it's so hard to evaluate a player's success when they haven't quite played yet. So I always give that season opening injury or that not quite ready to start the year the benefit of the doubt. Canes had their home opener and then went on a 6-game road trip and decided, they're just going to let Svechnikov rest at home, probably skate on his own, probably do a little bit more rehabbing. And now he's back, and we mentioned he's got that assist already tonight. And he's the type of player that, even if you only get 70 games out of him for this season, it's going to be 70 really good friggin' games. Like in standard leagues, he averages about 11 points a game. They're easing him back as of right now, but he'll eventually be that line 2 power play 1, that coveted
Yeah,
ice time, and he shoots and hits
for
like
sure.
nobody. So I'm definitely I'm glad I drafted him. I reached on him in a couple,
Yep.
late 4th, early 5th round.
I
I
was in
took
those
him where I
leagues.
needed to. I believe, yeah. So we keep 4 players year over year, and he was my first round pick effectively. So
Correct.
so call it 5th round. He might be a keeper this year if he can stay healthy and score 40, like I know he can.
Yeah.
So
Nothing's
that's
changed for
our
me.
that's our outlook on those 2 players. there's anybody else you think we should address, or any other hot button players, for example, feel free to let us know, of course.
All right. So I guess a couple final things before we head out of here. We're at about 50 minutes now. First is I really hope you guys added Joseph Wool. Like he the risk was always there with Samsonov, and I know it's still early, but the eye test has really passed for me. He's been great. And I'm happy for those who have added him and for those who listened to the must draft goalies video. It's not easy doing this and sitting in front of a camera and telling people that the $3.5 million starting goalie on the Toronto Maple Leafs is going to be taken over by the rookie $725,000 goaltender. But last year, and I keep bringing it up with Chris, is that Skinner and Campbell, it was the same situation where I was saying draft Skinner. It's more of a risk adverse type of play. Like you're almost hedging the risk where I was taking Wool with my last pick versus taking Samsonov with my 6th round pick. And it was the same thing with Campbell last year with Skinner, is I would rather take a chance at a goalie at 180 than take Campbell at 60. And that was mostly the reason why I liked him. But the last question I have is Alex Ovechkin a top 20 player all time? And
yes, we have. We've mentioned this offline, and wholeheartedly, he is a top 10 player all time. You're telling me somebody who has the chance and may very well, if he's healthy, break a Wayne Gretzky record. The player that we said his records will never be broken. Ovechkin is a top 10 all time.
So what the discussion was in a previous group chat, and for those still listening, I'm definitely want to hear your take on this, is that he's a one-dimensional player that just stands in one spot in the power play. And the way I looked at it was, in his 20s, Alex Ovechkin was one of the best power forwards we've ever seen. It was the dead puck era. There was barely players touching 100 points other than like Malkin and Crosby. And Ovechkin was putting up 60 goals in the dead puck era, while I think he may have had a season with 500 shots on net. Is that outland? I think that's true. I think he had 500.
I'm going to have a quick look.
I think it was 523 shots on net. That's my guess. And you're telling me this guy is not, he is the greatest goal scorer we have ever seen in the league. And then they were saying, if you start a new team, you would tell me to take Peter Forsberg. You would take Ovechkin over Peter Forsberg. But Ovechkin has barely missed any time in his career. He is one of the healthiest players in his entire career. And that's what's led to his success and his goal scoring ability. What are you seeing? Is it 500 shots, 523?
2008, 2009, 528 shots. He shot 10% that year, 10.6.
51?
56.
Oh,
second highest in his career.
Yeah.
That you're removed from his 65 goal season.
528 shots on that in one season. That's like, I actually don't know if we will, maybe Bedard. I don't know if we will ever see 500 again. Maybe McDavid.
Yeah, like maybe Hughes too, but those are the only 3 guys that I could see.
Matthews, Pasta, like they're close, but 528 is. I wonder what the record is in one season. It's probably pretty close.
Gotta be.
You pull it up? How quickly can you pull this up? But if you're still listening, definitely let me know in the comment section below if Ovi's a top 20 player, why? If he's not, why? And where you rank him if he's not. I'm very curious to hear what people think if you're still listening. He's in my top 20, no question, of all-time players. Yeah, just we're just not. I don't know if 800 and what is it, 8 something? It's gonna ever be broken. What do you got for shots in a season? Did you find it?
Okay, so first of all, top 10 NHL single season leaders for shots on goal. Ovechkin is 2, 3, and 6. 2, 3, and 6. We've got some Bobby Hull. We've got Paul Correa 1 year.
Who's won?
We've got Bobby Orr 1 year. Number 1. He's on there. He's number 1, number 5, and number 9.
Is it Brett Hull?
Any guesses? No, Brett Hull. His number is tied for 10th with his father for that for a single season. He had 408. This guy, you love using
Is
him or his brother in Puck Doku.
Oh, Luke Shen.
Mike, we're talking shots on goal, not hits. 1970, 1971, 71, 72, and 72, 73 are the three on this list.
Gordie Howe?
Close. Phil Esposito.
Really?
Yeah, with the Bruins. That year, 70, 71, he had 550 shots, 76 goals, 76 assists. Shout out Phil Esposito.
Oh my God. That's that's almost an unbeatable record right there. That's crazy. Wow.
You want one more quick trivia question?
Yeah.
I just thought of it on the spot. So if we're just looking standard leagues, the top 10 ranked players right now, we have one of them is undrafted. Top 10 among standard leagues. So I'll just give you a couple of hints just to show you
In
where we're at, I guess.
in Yahoo
So
standard
season
leagues.
total so far, Yahoo standard. I'm on our just to double check. Yeah, I'm on our main league, so we're pretty well Yahoo standard.
One guy is undrafted, or one guy is currently available.
No, he's no like career undrafted. I'm just gonna double check that before I look like a complete idiot on national television. Yeah, he's undrafted.
I don't know if I'm gonna
We've
get.
mentioned him a couple of times today.
I don't know if I'm gonna get this.
No,
Is it
and number
Vetrano?
one, Jack Hughes. It is Vetrano. He's ninth overall
Yeah,
in
it's
standard
Vetrano.
leagues
He's
right now.
undrafted. Oh, the Bruins signed him.
Yeah, undrafted. Played 2 years at UMass Amherst, and then signed by the Bruins.
Wow. Good for him. You like to
Good
see
for
that.
him. All right, great show, Mike. Great to see you as always this past weekend. Great to see Don and Chris for the first time in a little bit too. Looking forward to another week.
Yeah, thanks so much everyone for listening and for tuning in. If you listened in your car, or if you just listened, on your TV or your phone, make sure you give us a like. Make sure you subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, you're new to the channel, and feel free to comment below any podcast topics that you want us to talk about. We'll do our best to try and incorporate as many as we can. It makes it easier for us, and it also keeps you guys interested as we're talking about things that you want to hear about. So let us know below what you want to hear. Give us any feedback at all. We enjoy doing this. It's something we want to keep as like a weekly thing for us. Again, we were delayed this week in terms of posting due to us being in Toronto and in Buffalo, and in some scary Uber rides. But let us know, maybe the day that works best. I'm thinking maybe Tuesdays or Wednesdays work best in terms of posting. Sundays may be a little bit difficult because people are watching football, but you can get it Monday morning. But regardless, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy the content, again, like, subscribe. You know the whole works. I don't have to tell you. Take care, everybody.
Yep. See you guys.
Ending music. Da, 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 da.